You're looking to speak to get paid. So your
Right.
job is to take the problem you solve in your business or with your book, tell people in 20 minutes how you solve one or two of those problems. And then at the end of that 18 or 19 minutes, you have 1 or 2 minutes to tell people how they can hire you to help them solve that problem.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Book More Show. It's Stuart Bell here, and today joined by Jeff Klein. Jeff, how you doing?
Great, Stuart.
I'm excited for this one. We do a bit of a mix of recordings with people who've written books, our clients who've written books, other people who've written books, and then other people who are out there in our kind of related world, really with the idea of sharing some of this value with people. And this, I think, is going to be one of those conversations, because the field that you're an expert in ties in so nicely with what a number of our clients, our authors, are looking to do, and ways that they're looking to start more conversations and get their voice out there. So I think people are going to get, this is a subject that we haven't covered before, so I think people are going to get a lot of value from it. So why don't we start with a little bit about you and organization, and then we can go from there.
Sure. So the primary thing I do is help people use speaking to get done what they want to achieve, reach their goals using speaking. If you're an author and you want to sell your book, speaking is an amazing way to get that done. If you are somebody like yourself and you're looking for more people who are writing books and get that, speaking is a great way to attract authors and folks to get who are have all kinds of,
Right.
they get their book in their head or on their laptop and they need to get it
Right.
onto into an as an ebook or a printed book, and speaking is a great way to publicize that.
But
We
how did,
Go ahead.
sorry, I interrupted you. I was just going to say, the whole world of speaking, think of it as an outsider, you think about it as the big stage type stuff, because that's mostly what we're exposed to, and social media amplifies that these days. But how did you get into it? And a number of the clients are at as you say, I think I'm the perfect candidate for this type of thing, because our framework, our methodology, the way we do things is slightly unique. There's something to talk about, and it's interesting for the audience. So how did you get into helping people like me get in front of a wider audience?
Sure. I joke that I came to speaking through the kitchen. Like that's how the band gets into the restaurant or into the venue. They always come through the kitchen. And that's kind of how I came to a lot of things in my life. I started out of college. I went right into the film business and worked on movies and TV shows and lots of TV commercials based here in Dallas, Texas. I never moved to Los Angeles or New York to work in that movie business. I did it right here in Dallas. And after doing that for a while, I worked in sports production and in the association business, representing, and then running the Texas Film Association, which found my way into advertising and running my own advertising agency, which is where I found myself when I started speaking. I discovered an organization called CEO Space, and every Friday they were teaching the elevator pitch, the 30-second commercial. And I
Right.
really clicked with that education and with that organization and started helping them teach that on Fridays at lunch. And one day somebody said, "Hey Jeff, would you come do that 30-second thing at our group?" And I made sure it was okay. I got permission, and then I went and then visited this networking group and taught them how we were doing the elevator pitch at CEO Space. And then somebody at that group said, "Hey, that was great. Would you come do this at our group?" And
Right.
before I knew it, I was doing that 2 or 3 times a month. And then I started to get more intentional about speaking. And because I recognized it was driving business or gave me the opportunity to get exposure to get business for the ad agency, because networking is the most basic form of advertising, shoe leather advertising. And
Right.
the elevator pitch is the most basic form of how to advertise a business before you get into all the other things you have to do. And I wound up starting to teach more. Somebody had asked me to come back a second time and teach different stuff. So I wound up creating a whole curriculum around networking because when I'd ask if they'd want more advertising content, they didn't. They wanted more networking content.
Right.
So I wound up creating 6 hours of networking content eventually that I taught as a telephone class. And so I was selling classes and workshops. I wound up creating a CD called 30 Seconds to Success, which was the eventual topic or title of my elevator pitch talks. And that all leads up to where we're going here, where your book is now not only a talk title, but it's also the title for a whole curriculum and a whole line of products. It's not just a book title, it's a talk title,
Right.
it's a membership title, it's a podcast title, it's a workshop title, it's a it can be the title of 100 different products ranging in price from $20 to 2,000 or 3,000 or more dollars, depending on how you're positioning and what you're teaching folks.
But that's what I like about the principle of setting something up in a way that you can use it multiple times in the future. I could die halfway through an analogy every time I try and think about it as this kind of aircraft carrier that's the main tentpole piece, and then the individual forces or aircraft or whatever going off from that, but always coming back to the hub. So again, just like that time, the metaphor always dies a little bit, but
No,
still
that's a
this
good
idea
metaphor,
of
really, Stuart. That's a great metaphor for it. Absolutely.
that thing that is then the kind of the home for all of these other things that are related. And no matter where people enter the world, there's some commonality and consistency around that message, because I think it's easy for people to get confused about what we do. And if there's any confusion there, it leads to anxiety at one level or forgetfulness at the other level. And that's the last thing we want to do. If we want to make that connection with someone, start that conversation, we really want it to go forward. So it's a great point that you make, that whether you're coming to it from you've got a speech and a presentation that's dialed in and then you're looking for other assets, or you've got a book that's dialed in, now you're looking for other assets around that. It's such a complementary, self-supporting idea to just tick off
And
some
if
of the
you start
boxes.
with the talk, then you need to write the book. And if you start with the book, then you need to turn it into the talk. I
Right,
started talk and turned it into an audio first. A CD was what we
right,
first, and then it became an MP3, and then it became an ebook, and
right.
and so now it's a digital bundle which I sell as an ebook and MP3 together. And
Yeah,
ebook can be, you could print on demand, of course, and have a physical copy of the ebook if you wanted.
yeah,
Not many folks do that these days. They just read it on their digital device, but it's
right.
multiple. And early on, it became a workshop, but it became a workshop, Stuart, because somebody called me on the phone and said, "Hey, four of us want to pay you extra to come back and teach us, just the four of us." And I went,
Right.
"Maybe, okay, I'll be glad to
Okay,
do.
we can do that.
Tell me
Yeah,
when. I'll be there." Yeah.
yeah. So that bridging into kind of doing it already in like a small space, the CEO space, so doing it to an audience that's there, and then taking it out further, that bridging into understanding how the kind of speaking, I don't even know if I want to call it circuit, because that makes it sound too much like the entertainment side of things. And this is a little bit different. It's like us, actually, our product, the thing that we're helping people to create, is a book, but everyone thinks of a book in a traditional sense, and that's not what we do. We're not interested in a traditional book because the book's not a product. The conversation is the product. So a conversation starting book is something different. So again, when people say speaking, it's easy to go down the route of the narrowest part of the Gary Vaynerchuk end of the spectrum, where for most people that's
Right.
not the case. So, is that a balancing that people need to think about, the actual job of work of what they're trying to do?
I'm going to pull up a document. I have to open it up here, but I'll share this with you. I think you'll find it quite interesting. So what we've discovered, and I call it, it is a speaking circuit. And I use that term myself. And sometimes I jokingly call it the rubber chicken circuit, or the rotary circuit.
Right. Yeah.
It's, it is just that. So do you have, can I share my screen?
Yeah. It should be open up.
Okay, great. So this is something I did a little bit of research and came up with this data. And if you're a data person, you'll appreciate this.
I'll have to see if I can take a I'll see if I can take a screenshot here just for people who are just listening and not watching,
Sure.
and then I'll make sure I include it in the show notes.
So what it says is where to speak. And it's about just some conservative numbers of the groups that are available to speak to. Now, this is based on the US and North America, but the numbers are pretty similar everywhere else in the world. In the US, so there's 33,000 Rotary clubs, Rotary International clubs in the world. And if we assume that maybe 20,000 of them are in the USA, every one of those clubs meets weekly. A few meet less often,
Right,
most of them meet weekly, which means they need speakers 40 or 50 times a year. So if
right.
we just take 20,000 clubs times 40 weeks, that's 800,000 speaking opportunities in one calendar year. That's
Just
already
in that one
low.
organization.
That's a low estimate for one organization. There's 4,000 chambers of commerce in the USA with one full-time staff person, but they estimate there's
Right.
3,000 more run by volunteers. Okay, so not
Wow.
counting chambers, the 4,000 with staff have meetings every month. So if we just count, if we
Right.
say 10 of those months, they need a speaker, that's 40,000 speakers.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's 92,000 registered trade and professional associations in America. That's like everything from the Bowling Proprietors Association to men's. Okay, those are all associations. And if just half of them have a monthly lunch, that's 46,000 lunches times 10 months. That's 500,000 meetings. And the truth
The
is,
numbers start amplifying so fast.
and that's just one for each association. Most of the associations have chapters in multiple cities that have monthly.
Right.
Okay. So that's associations, that's chambers, and that's rotaries. Now
Yeah.
let's move on to networking groups. So BNI, Business Networking International, which is the largest networking organization in the world, they don't bring in outside speakers. But if we use them as a benchmark to determine how many other networking groups there are, in my experience, at least here in the Dallas-Fort Worth market, for every BNI chapter, there's about 10 other networking groups I can find. There's 3,700 BNI chapters in the US. Multiply that times 10, that's 37,000 networking groups meeting every week. And if they
Yeah.
each have a speaker once a month, that's 370,000 more speaking opportunities.
Right.
So just those very conservative numbers, that's 1.67 million speaking opportunities in America alone every year that will never pay the speaker an upfront fee, but
Right.
will allow the speaker to make an offer as long as the speaker first gives value to the audience.
And
So
that's the way of that's the more sensible way to think about it for us as business owners rather than us as professional speakers. That
exactly,
whole market opens up to someone who the traditional speaking circuit, because their product is themselves,
that's
that's not what we're interested in.
you're not
Right.
looking to get you're not looking to get paid to speak. You're looking to speak to get paid.
That's such a great frame.
Yeah, so you're not looking to get paid to speak, you're looking to speak to get paid. So your
Right.
job is to take the problem you solve in your business or with your book, tell people in 20 minutes how you solve one or two of those problems. And then at the end of that 18 or 19 minutes, you have 1 or 2 minutes to tell people how they can hire you to help them solve that problem.
It's such the perfect, again, it's why I wanted to do the podcast in the first place. It's such the perfect complement to the way that we talk about books with people, even with us very vocally being on the conversation starting book front, people will still come and ask, how much should I charge for the book? And then book as the product type questions. And I'm sure you must get the same. People start talking about speaking and they think about it as a career. But for all of us who are in business, how many, I joke with people, say, how many books do you think you must sell in order to make the equivalent of one client? And speaking must be the same. I'm guessing there's a bigger margin in speaking there is than in an individual book, but still the metrics must
Sure,
correlate.
but I encourage people. I try to have. I really my from my perspective, Stuart. There's one answer to how much is a book, and it's $20. Seriously,
Right.
no matter how long the book is, your content, your intellectual property is worth $20. You
Yeah.
know, now that it shouldn't be a 10-page coloring book, obviously.
r-
It gotta be something with that brings value to the audience, but it could be a 96-page, what we call airplane book, like your 90-minute your none of
Yeah.
your books are worth less than $20. Now, because
Right.
the speaking strategy for a book is much different than a bookstore strategy. The bookstore strategy is you have to have 12.95, 14.95, 16, all these other prices. But in a book, in a speech, it needs to be $20 because that's the bill people are most likely to have in their pocket if they have cash at all.
Actually, that's a great point because when we think about the job of work of what you're trying to do, that having a price, whether you sell it or not, but having the price on it, setting that kind of the transaction for the value type benchmark, then if you are using it and you're giving it away, or you're in a speech environment, an environment where there is an opportunity to sell it that may be worth it, it might cover the gas price if nothing else.
Sure.
Um, but it also sets that expectation for the next step in the journey. So if you feel like you have to sell it, then selling it for 20 is probably better than selling it for 8 because that seems very
Right.
random in that
Right.
environment. Yeah,
And if you need to print the price on the book, which nowadays you don't necessarily need to, but if you're going to print the price on the book, and again, not as a book guy, but as a speaker, my
yeah,
recommendation is the price on the book should be 24.95, 29.95. So when you sell it for 20 in person, it's a bargain.
yeah, yeah.
Even if you do
So
21.95, you're not charging sales tax or shipping. You're going to pay
yeah,
the sales tax on your own.
yeah,
So it's $20.
yeah. And it's in context of, again, I'm such a fan of this idea of thinking about the context of how things are presented, not just using the tools, whether that's a speech or a presentation or a
Right?
book. But when you think about the context of the value that you're delivering in those 20 minutes, for someone then to be able to spend a small amount of money to either learn more because it's out of the scope of just the talk element, or to go deeper, or to just have the hard copy of the thing that they just engaged with, $20 seems like a reason. It's in context of how it's being used. And then if your call to action, if the next step, if you then immediately want to move to an engagement close, then it sets that expectation of that journey. So the context of that is so relevant.
And you're positioning yourself as somebody that is paid for your services, not free. Very
Yeah,
important psychological thing too. Every one of those books on that shelf is a speaker book.
right.
And while they may have a
Okay.
variety of prices on them, most of them was $20 in the room.
Yeah. So that, let's bridge into that a little bit then. Moving from a scenario where it was evident to yourself that speaking was a great way of client acquisition because you can deliver that value to an audience who are kind of pre-selected themselves as interested. How did that translate into, how did that kind of, I don't know if scale or translate is the right idea, but taking this as more of a, now this is definitely a very, it's not a coincidental lead generation strategy, it's an orchestrated lead generation strategy.
Absolutely.
Was that a development?
Yeah. So what I and doing the so in the first year, I was just doing a few a month, and then to set a goal to speak once a week. And I did
Wow,
that.
okay.
And then I set a goal to speak twice a week, and I did that for 2 years.
Right,
Over a
yeah.
4-year period, I spoke about 300 times, and I made a lot of mistakes. I learned a lot more from the mistakes than I did from the successes.
Yeah,
So, and what I learned, and by the end of that time, I was fortunate enough to have some coaches come along and help me systematize what I had learned.
yeah,
So, what I learned was that, and what I teach now is the same system. And we've been perfecting it and tweaking it over the last 12, 15 years since I started the system, since I completed the system rather. and added in virtual speaking and all the things we learned over COVID with
Yeah,
that environment and Zoom and all that good stuff. And what I teach is to offer three things. You offer a $20 thing, usually a book and sometimes an audio. You offer a middle thing that's 100 or anywhere from $100 to $200. That's a workshop, typically for individuals in a group setting. And then you offer something for the three or four or $500 price range that's more along the lines of a lunch and learn or a bigger class or a bigger commitment for an individual to get deeper into your programs or your products and services. And
right.
then all of those, you're upselling from all of those, the top two, especially the training. And your real goal is to sell the two workshops. And the books are your gravy from the people who are never going to buy the other stuff.
Yeah. And that's a great way of thinking about it as well. This idea that there are these people have self-selected themselves as interested, but they're not all ready to pull the trigger today. So to be
Right.
able
And a book
to
sale is going
offer
to turn
something,
it. Some of the book sales are going to be clients down the road for sure.
right?
But you're not really, and they're going to be on your mailing list because
Yeah,
you're going to collect everybody's information, but they're not
yeah,
going to, don't have an opportunity to one-on-one upsell them like you do somebody after a 90-minute workshop.
yeah. But it captures those people and puts them into the bigger system so that you're not immediately losing out. For example, if you didn't have that lower tier offer in the room, if you were just presenting, hey, get started with me and here's the price, all of that other, or the majority, the vast majority of that other traffic would disappear because the doors close, everyone goes home and moves
Yeah,
on.
here's a horror story. There was a gentleman who made the rounds in Dallas in the aughts, and he spoke several hundred times a year for a couple of years, and he sold a couple 100,000 books, but he didn't collect email addresses.
Oh,
So at
yeah,
the end of those couple of years, he had sold 200,000 books, but his email list was only 3,000 people,
that's
and he had
that
nothing
opportunity.
to build and to build more business on.
And it's such a straightforward extra step to do it. But we've worked with people who said, "Oh yeah, we've been in business for years, and we've got client details, obviously, but everyone else." And there's maybe like some papers over there and some post-its over there, but we just never brought it all together in any way.
It's just a
And those
matter of
names have
getting
moved
business
on,
cards from everybody in the room. And
right?
you have to do that is give away a book.
Yeah, that's why we love it as the thing at the top of the funnel to start collecting those details, to start adding the value. With the speaking element, it's such an obvious next and easy step and so complementary that it really works well.
And they don't have to
So
give you their card. They just can't win the book if they don't.
yeah, and even things like these days, even saying, I'm really a fan of encouraging people to do something specific for the occasion. Now, not everyone can do it because sometimes it's too much of a mental lift or they just don't have time. But the idea of saying, okay, we've had 15 minutes here today where I've given you kind of the introduction to the piece. Definitely get a copy of the book, but I know there's a lot of stuff that you're going to read in the book, but it's not really going to land. So I've recorded another 30 minutes of content just to go to that next level deeper and giving that away free with anyone who gets a copy of the book. And to get it, you need to put your
Sure.
name and email address details. And there's so many ways of
Happy
just
book.
layering on that value, and the relationship that you have with those people is then extended, and your ability to collect details is easier, and it just makes everyone feel good about it.
Yeah, and nobody thinks twice about putting their email address on an order form when they're putting their other information on it.
They're wanting to do the thing, they're wanting to engage with you, so there's no, you're just helping them engage even more. It's
Yeah.
ties in so well. How did that translate then from, so this is something that you saw success with yourself, you've orchestrated that into doing even more things, more people were starting to ask questions. What was the transition towards building the course, and then how do you get to that next market? So the course comes about from necessity and people asking, and a logical progression, but again, that course in front of other people, what's that step in the process?
That's where you start looking at other groups. So for some of it's organic. Somebody says, "Hey, come speak at our group," and come speak at our group from the audience. But then it's like, who else would this be good for? And then you seek
Right,
out is on your own. Google associations, or you Google salespeople, things like that. You learn about the right associations. You get
Yeah.
asked to join groups and or asked to attend things. The other thing you do is, for example, with the networking, realtors are a big market for that, and financial advisors. So when I have one realtor in an audience, I've got their card. I'm going to contact them and ask who at the broker's office brings in trainers, and find out who that person is to talk to about coming in and doing
Right.
training. Same thing with financial advisors, excuse me, and people like
Yeah.
that.
I think that's one of the benefits of we hear it was unexpected when it first started happening, but then it's happened enough that it's not unexpected. But it wasn't the we didn't imagine this would happen in the first place. But often a lot of the feedback that we get from people going through the book writing process is, hey, you know what, going through this process actually made me realize two or three other things, or a business development opportunity that I was thinking about, or a complementary non-competing business that we can work with. Or I've been saying it this way for years, but then someone asked me to elaborate on it because they didn't understand it, and I realized I could say it in a different way. And with the speakers that you work with, walking them through the course and helping them, or forcing them or encouraging them to take that time to think about their thinking a little bit, to think about who it is that they can best serve within this particular, the job of work of what they're trying to do in this place. I imagine that opens up a lot more potential opportunities that
Absolute
wouldn't
one,
come up
doing
otherwise.
workshops with people and helping them think of who else they want to meet. All kinds of ideas come to the forefront there too.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where none of what we do, well, speak for myself, I guess, none of what I do is rocket science in the sense that it's earth-shatteringly complicated, which is probably just as well if you knew my academic records, earth-shatteringly complicated, or some completely magical way of doing things. It's a different way of doing things and it's unique, but it's almost more the exercise of working with people through the process and just having that dedicated time to think purely about this. It's that old adage of working on the business rather than in the business, but the secondary benefits or the non-obvious benefits from it, it's pretty significant.
But so much happens in on the job, as they say, TJ, on the job
Right.
training, that you just have to experience it. Once you start doing stuff, you learn from doing. And hanging out with other speakers, you learn things from them. There's no way I could be where I'm at if I hadn't spent a bunch of time at National Speakers Association meetings, learning from
Right.
doing it for a living. Uh, and now I teach those same people, or those same demographics, what my journey was, because they can all benefit from it. The truth is that our methodology of speaking all these places where you can make money is a much faster path to making a living as a speaker than trying to get on the big stage and get paid to speak.
Right.
Care what, there are people promising all kinds of results, but they want $10,000 for you to teach you how to do that. And you know what?
Yeah.
What they teach you work. What they teach works in 3 to 5 years.
Right.
Seriously, if you want to be Tony
And
Robbins, if you want to be the next big name public speaker, you can pay Tony Robbins, you can pay John Maxwell 10 or $15,000 to be a licensee and follow their process. It's still going to take you 3 to 5 years till you're making a living as a speaker. If you
right.
follow our speak to get paid process, and you have a program that you can teach people to solve some
Yeah.
problems, then you can do it in a year or less. You can be making a living using speaking to make a living, understanding
Yeah.
that speaking comes training and coaching and all those things that you're selling as a speaker.
Yeah.
But the primary marketing tool is speaking, and you're
Right.
teaching the program from the front of the room or the front of the Zoom. We've got a membership program. We've got a website for helping speakers of all kinds promote themselves at Speaker Co-op that's been up for 18 years. And it started as a networking lunch to help people find more speaking engagements. And we still, excuse me, we still achieve our core mission of helping our members find more speaking engagements, because we attract 1,100 meeting planners a month to click our website and find speakers. And the
Yeah.
meeting planners use the site for free, and the speakers pay to be on it. But when it comes to the teaching methods that we use to help the folks that are looking to be taught stuff, we teach speak to get paid, and that will lead to getting paid to speak. But it also
It's
leads
such
to
a
making a living a lot quicker.
That's again, it's another example of why the our messages are so aligned, because we've got the whole bestseller BS type. That's like our nemesis, is
Mhm.
people who are charging tens and tens of thousands of dollars to be a bestseller and then sit back and wait for the door to get knocked down as all of the people come to you. And for 99% of people, of real business owners out there, that's just that's not what will happen.
It's
There's
nice to
a
have the
it
name.
could
It's nice to have best-selling author by your name, but it doesn't have a check attached to it.
Yeah, exactly. And there are better ways of doing it, like you were saying, on the speak to get paid instead of get paid to speak. Such a much better way of thinking about it. When we I always joke on the podcast, this time flies by and we run out of time way before I think we do. So a couple of things though before we wrap up. So the idea of some of the people in the audience, in your audience, are looking towards that path of being professional speakers, and this is the most effective route. Our audience, there's definitely some people who maybe think that way, and actually, I know already there's a few book clients who have ended up doing that, but that wasn't their original plan. But for people who are in that kind of middle ground, who have a business already, they're not necessarily thinking about leaving, but they want to get their name out there a little bit more, both for, I'm going to say, maybe a little bit for vanity and a bigger bit for credibility and a small section for authority, and but really for like lead generation, for establish themselves.
Yeah,
It's the personal brand type thing. So this system works well for that as well. It's not just a path
absolutely.
towards speakers.
Our core has always been people whose speaker is not their job title.
Right.
It
Yeah.
may be on their business card as the second or third thing. Maybe coach, author, speaker. It could be attorney, author, speaker. We see that a lot, and that's who I work with mostly. The My coaching clients, while I'm branching out because I've been doing it so long, and I do work with people who want to be professional public speakers, my core client is that consultant, that fractional CFO who understands how powerful speaking can be to grow his practice. We can help him immensely. I've got a 10-week class that we teach called 10 Stages in 10 Weeks. And we
Right.
guarantee 10 stages, but it's all focused on revenue for your business and how to get clients in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
What a
That
number.
as a framework,
Yeah.
again, it just ties in so well with the whole 90-minute book premise, because it's this: cut into the things that are important, pull out all of the superfluous stuff, the stuff that doesn't move the needle, the stuff that I don't even say it doesn't have a check attached to it, but is a distraction. It's just cutting to the core of what you want the outcome to be, and that
Yeah.
is in conversation with the people who you can help best. As I say, time always goes too fast. We've got a link to the website that we'll put in the show notes. So whether people are listening to it on the podcast player or looking on the website, we'll link straight through. I'll also make sure that I'd link to you on LinkedIn so people can connect directly if that's what they're interested in. But I would really recommend both elements, both the I'm going to call it marketplace, but what do you call it? The speaker opportunity. Um,
Speakercoop.com. Yeah, use the link to join. You can get on the website for as little as $30 a month if you want to be listed on our speaker directory. If you're speaking and you want audiences, it's a no-brainer to get on the website. You pay $300 a year or $30 a month. We have two other membership levels that get more. We give you more promotions than we do at that starter level. But either way, get on there and get found by meeting planners.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and I tell you
And then
what, because the site's been up for 18 years, Stuart, we have people who when they search their name, their speaker co-op page comes up before their own
oh, that's
website
the one.
because we've been
Right.
there for 18 years.
And there's
I
something to be said
organic
for
search. Yeah.
there's something to be said both algorithmically for that kind of age and authority, but also just the longevity has its it becomes the de facto resource. So that's one. And then the course to help people refine that 10-week, 10 stages course to help people refine. If they're just, say they've written a book, they're an attorney, they've written a book with us a year or two ago, they've done one or two speaking things, but it's just because people ask them. That course, that's a great course to help them orchestrate this a little bit more and really dial it in as a
Sure, yeah, the 10
specialty.
stages, the 10-week, 10 stages class. It's a $2,500 program, and it includes a 1-year membership in speakercoop.com as well. So it's
Yeah,
incredible value, and you can't go wrong. It's everything we do at Speaker Co-op, Stuart, is driven for revenue for the client. We're not,
right,
again, I run into so many people who have spent so much money with people who don't care about how much money their clients make. It breaks my heart
right.
to run into these
Yeah,
people. So they've been sucked dry by these coaches and these programs with all these promises of fame and but not fortune, just fame, and pay us,
right.
you got to do this and this, and they teach some amazing stuff, but they don't teach you how to make any money.
Right,
And
yeah.
that's what we're focused on.
Having that,
How to get you that $2,500 back.
yeah. That we're both in a similar position. Small organizations, we're not looking to sell to some VC firm in 5 years. We've been around for multiple years already. It's having that connection with people, and it's why we get so many referrals and
Yeah,
people saying you got to work with these guys because they're passionate about what they do. So
yeah, and
again, another
finance,
reason why.
yeah, we have financing available too if you need that. Because I don't want money to be the reason you don't do it, because I've seen so many people get burned out there. It's just sad.
Yeah, yeah. It's this is going to be one of those podcasts. This is a subject that we haven't spoken about before in kind of 180 episodes. So as people are listening to this, hopefully it's resonating with something that they've wanted to do for a long time, and hopefully we facilitated making the book as easy as possible for them. And they've now got a connection in you to facilitate getting on stage in a way that moves the needle for them.
Excellent.
It would be it'd be great to circle back in a couple of months and maybe do a little bit of a deeper dive on some
Be
examples
glad
and
to. Absolutely.
stories. Yeah. And then in the meantime, as I say, I'll put links in the show notes. So whether people are listening on a podcast player or on the website, then just click through and find out more about the program. And it really is the perfect opportunity to add another string to your bow.
And I'm looking forward to have Stuart. You're going to be on one of our Ask the Expert segments on the Speaker Co-op website, so we're looking forward to that too.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking forward to rounding out the circle and sharing with some of the speakers. If they don't have a book already, then just this easy way of creating something that's very on point for the job of work that they're trying to achieve. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. Jeff, again, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. This has been a lot of value for people. Everyone listening, the links are in the show notes, so definitely click through and find out more about the programs and the opportunity, because as I say, I think it's just the perfect match. Jeff, thanks again for your time, and everyone else will catch you in the next one.
You're so welcome, Stuart. Thank you.